All right, guys, this is going to be a apartment and glow den tour. So this is my bedroom. I kind of live in a unique situation. I actually live in an office building, and I have 3 rooms that aren't attached down a hallway of offices. So it's definitely a unique situation, but it works really well for me. So this is my bedroom. You can see here I have a little beautician area that I can get ready at. I have an old chair here. This is from the Soviet era, but actually folds out into a full bed, which is actually surprisingly comfortable for how old it is. Got a little table here. I set this up thinking I would work here, never do. It's really bright in here. You can see I have like a sheer material that they put on my windows. It's supposed to help with bugs. It doesn't. So I bought a black blanket at the Piazza, and that works pretty well if it's set down. And then I actually screened in this window and the little one over there just because the bugs in summer are really bad. So that was a fun little project. I really lucked out. Most Moldovans sleep in like futons, but I actually have a full actual bed. It's really comfortable. They gave me all my sheets and blankets, so I didn't even have to buy anything, which was great. I have a little nightstand. I got myself a little TV. The carpet's a little bit funky in here. It's really old school wood, kind of mixed with some concrete in some areas, flooring. So I took some sections of carpet from my old bedroom and kind of just laid them out for winter. And then actually I have a second room. This was the probation office for a long time, but I don't have enough furniture. So this is kind of my dressing room. Hello. So I have like a big wardrobe there, a big one there. And then I have a kind of a 2-stage laundry system I have to do to dry my laundry because I do live in an office building. I can't dry it outside. So this is stage 2. I'll show you stage 1 shortly. But once the stuff kind of stops dripping and is completely, quote unquote, dry enough to move, I put it in here, and then I actually get a decent cross breeze in here with this window open. And it's pretty bright. I have to keep this window closed though, or that door closed if this window's open, because I did not screen this in. So yeah, we'll keep walking over. Like I said, make sure to close the door here. So, like I said, this used to be the probation office. I just moved in here recently, so still have a lot of criminals come by thinking this is the probation office. So I wrote closed in multiple areas because they still come by opening the door thinking it's a probation office, and unfortunately it's not. It's just me trying to sleep. So a little bit of a different angle here. This is our bathroom. Really looked out. It's really big. I have a flushable toilet which rocks. So this is stage 1 of the laundry. So I kind of rigged up a drying line with some paracord. So I dry everything here, especially like the heavy stuff like vests and jeans, for probably 2 days with that window open. And what that does is if it does drip, it's kind of a linoleum floor. I can just mop it up. I'm washing some stuff in there now. My washing machine is the bathtub with a plunger, as you can see here, with some holes drilled. I didn't have a drill, so I had to use an awl, but so I can kind of agitate the laundry. It works pretty well. And it's really my only option, so that's what we have to use. So the bathroom works well. I do have a toilet around the corner there, and it flushes, which is awesome. There is an outhouse, but they don't make me use it. I'll probably use it more in summer because winter is quite chilly. And then lastly, so this is a public hallway, by the way. We have a conference room here, and then my partner's brother, who's kind of my partner as well, works out of that office. So then my last room is my kitchen, which is kind of just like a long hallway. I have a pretty decent-sized fridge, nice table, and like work area. I spend a lot of time working here, kind of 50-50. I work from home and the office. I have a great oven that unfortunately does not work. It's the wrong voltage for the electricity here. But I do have a 2 double burner, little pantry they installed for me, which is great. Sink, running water, super hot water. They put a brand new hot water heater in for me. So this works well. And then I screened this window in as well, because it can get quite hot in here because there's no cross breeze. And then this is a little map of Romania with Bulgaria below, Ukraine to the side of it. Got that at a tourism conference. The Romanian government was there kind of kind of doing their stuff, trying to get more people to come. So cool little map that was free. Gotta love free. When you're only in place for 2 years, no reason to spend money decorating it. So it's gonna get a little dim because we're going lights out here. See if we can get a little bit more light now that the sensor's set up. But this is our big conference room. I don't work for this department, but I do work with them sometimes. But they'll have like big meetings here and stuff. And then my Wi-Fi router is here. That was a whole to-do because if it's an old building, it's a lot of concrete and metal in the walls. The walls are really thick. So unfortunately, the Wi-Fi signals don't travel too well. So the head of security's office is right here, Eon. He's really helpful. And then, of course, they have their employee bathroom here, which is a great like backup if I need it. So we're going to walk out, and I'm going to kind of walk you guys around the park and then through town. So I'll let the sensor readjust, but this is going to be our outside of the office. So we have an old well here that's actually turned off now. It's out of water. But we have a nice like picnic area that a lot of the employees kind of hang out at. Maybe have lunch, smoke a cigarette, things like that. And then kind of panning the Podora Domonoska building. Essentially, Podora Domonoska is their national parks division. So essentially what that is this is their northern branch. So they oversee the northern Podora Domonoska, which is about 20,000 acres. So this is their main office, and it's great because I get to live there. And the office is in the main park of Glodden. So we'll kind of give you a little walking tour of the park, and then maybe through the park across to the school where I have some English clubs, and then into town. So you can see here we have a red tent being set up. There's a big concert this weekend. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend because I'll be in Chisinau for a training. But our park is really nice. Oh, you can actually see a guy riding a bike. You don't see that too often. But really lucked out. Glodden's a really clean town. Many rayons have parks in the center, but a lot of times they're kind of run down and not kept very well. But it seems like the people of Glodden really take a lot of pride in that. So ours is really clean. Occasionally you see a little bit of garbage, but normally it's because somebody had a barbecue the night before or something like that. It's really nice to live in the park. It's really quiet. I do have an elementary school across the street from me. Or I'm sorry, a preschool, which can be a little loud, but it's not terrible. It's a good reason to get up in the morning. So if we continue here, you can see that they have walking paths throughout the whole park. The park's quite large. All this land used to actually belong to an aristocrat from Moldova in the late 1800s, and we'll kind of walk by his old mansion. It's been a million things since communism took over, but most recently it's kind of like a daycare and library. But this was all his private land, and then it was kind of deeded to the town during communism, back to the people for park use and agricultural use. You will see a lot of bonikas still here, kind of walking through the park and cutting a lot of the grass down. It's not because they're trying to make it look beautiful. It's just free food for their chickens and stuff like that. So it's really good. It's really resourceful. You got kind of an old volleyball net set up here. I may take you guys over to the football field, but I think that they have like a tournament going on, so I don't know if I want to go over there and get mobbed by kids. If you look directly down this, I'm not going to walk over there, but that's where the Romanian high school is. I have an English club there. It's really nice. It's definitely in need of an upgrade, but apparently they're getting quite a large one in the next year. So we're actually holding off on doing some smaller grants there just because the money would essentially be wasted, because anything we do kind of build or put in there would be subject to being torn down in a year or so. We're kind of looking at other options. We did have a really crazy blizzard come through really late. It was actually in May. And Glodden, oddly enough, we're in the north, but we didn't get hit that bad. We only got a few inches. But some of the trees did get knocked down. But Chisinau got hit really hard. I actually was in Chisinau during the storm, and 6 people died. A lot of trees fell on cars, crushed cars, trees and houses. because they got 14 inches of snow in the second week of May, which is pretty uncommon for this part of the world. And you can see how green it is. All that weight just on top of the leaves, just the trees couldn't handle it, and they just all started snapping like twigs. So the walk that we're doing right now is my walk to work every day. So like I said, I live in the park, but I work at the Rayon Council. My partner is the vice president of the Glodden Rayon, which, like I said, is in the north. We're about 20 kilometers west of Romania. We're right on the Prut River. Bună ziua! If you see on the right-hand side, you'll see a large building that's being constructed. That actually used to be a movie theater during the Soviet times over here. But a private company actually bought it, and they've been rehabilitating it for about a year. I've been in Glodden for about 9 months, but a year total in the country. And unfortunately, it just hasn't made a lot of progress. So I don't think it'll reopen while I'm here, but it's really cool. The only movie theaters in the country are in Chisinau. So it'd be awesome if we could get one in the north for some of the locals here. So I can walk this way to work. We're actually going to divert through kind of the shortcut that I take every day, because it's also the way to the USAID garbage cans, which is really the only way of getting rid of garbage around here. There's no public garbage. What's great is we have the USAID program. A lot of rayons don't, and unfortunately that results in everybody burning their garbage or just dumping it in the parks, kind of going back to why a lot of the parks in the rayons are not as nice as ours. But we've had a USAID program for several years, is what I've been told, and they're sporadically throughout the rayon. There's probably 4 within a 10-minute walk of my apartment, so it's really convenient. So this is one of the old outbuildings of that old millionaire aristocrat that built this park and will soon to see his mansion. So all the buildings you're going to see here are kind of his outbuildings, where he had his servants and his outdoor kitchens and cooking facilities and guest houses and things like that. And then, of course, all that was seized under the Soviet Union. And then after Moldova got their independence, there wasn't a lot of money put into it. So they've been used for government buildings throughout the time, but we're trying to work on some preservation, because they really are nice architecturally, and it's a really cool part of history that just shows, this part was like the rest of Western Europe for a long time, and the fact that they had aristocrats and kind of a serfdom economy. So unfortunately, you can see, we have some busted out windows and graffiti. The buildings have just been empty for so long that, the kids got to have something to do. Like I said, there's no movie theater, and there's, you'll see, but you're really just a couple restaurants in town. That's about it. So kids are kind of just banging around and keeping themselves busy. They're not doing anything dangerous or stealing or anything like that, but sometimes they're, setting up fireworks in the houses and all that stuff. So, so this is the old mansion, actually, here. You can see with the blue trimmed windows. Maybe in America we don't consider it a mansion like Buckingham Palace, but for the time and the region, this really was an incredible piece of architecture. Bună ziua! So we'll keep cruising here. We got a potato sale going on in the parking lot here. A couple people are buying sacks of potatoes. A lot of stuff falls in the back of trucks here, and then magically gets sold in parking lots, primarily potatoes and other vegetables. So these yellow pipes over here, those run throughout the entire town. My old house had them actually running through the entire backyard. They're the propane lines for your hot water heater and kitchen and stuff like that. It's great because they are really reliable, but they're kind of an eyesore, especially when you're driving down the highway. Beautiful, pristine, gorgeous farmland with, to the horizon with sunflowers, but the size of me, which isn't saying much, but, a little bit over 5 feet. And then, unfortunately, you get these yellow pipelines kind of cutting through them. But it's better that they have them than they don't. Got a couple chickens over here. I'm really glad I don't live in the apartment building over here. There's probably close to 100 or 200 chickens that live behind the apartment building. And it's great for the people that live there because they get free eggs and stuff like that, but it's just super loud. Directly in front of us here is the hospital. I actually haven't been in there. It's a state-run hospital with, Peace Corps. We have our own medical team down in Chisinau, so we utilize them for everything. But it is good to know that the hospital's here. It is handicap accessible, which is pretty rare in this country. There's, of course, ADA is not a huge thing here because they would have to reconstruct really the entire public facility of the country because it was never built with that in mind. But it's really awesome that our hospital is that, because we do have a lot of older people here that are maybe using walkers and things like that. So if we keep walking this way, we're going to cross the street. It is really safe to walk around here, especially traffic-wise. Pedestrians definitely have the right-of-way. There's a million crosswalks floating around. I haven't had any problems, which has been great. So the building in front of us, you'll see the front of it in a second. But this is going to be the Casa de Cultura. And every rayon, which is essentially like a state, has their big Casa de Cultura. But then every village also has their smaller version. This being a rayon center, which would kind of be like the state capital on a much smaller scale. There's only about 10 or 11,000 people here. But they have their large Casa de Cultura. And during the Soviet times, there was a lot of plays and presentations and things of that nature on a regular basis. Unfortunately, a lot of that's been defunded with the economic issues that Moldova is facing. But they do have occasionally some things throughout the year, but it definitely is underutilized. Our library is also in the Casa de Cultura. It's not that big, but we do have a pretty good computer lab, which not many of the younger people use, but a lot of the older people. So a lot of Peace Corps volunteers get involved with their Casa de Culturas as well. So I'll just give you a spin around here when I get a little further out for the frame of the Casa de Cultura. So right now in front of you, you're seeing kind of main town square. We'll give you a spin around here of the Casa de Cultura. You can see there's a play coming up on the 21st of May. So a lot of people around here. They're probably wondering why I'm just talking out loud without headphones in. I can't even make the excuse that I'm on the phone. But it's kind of hot here today. Like I said, it's been a little chilly. We had that blizzard come through, but it's really starting to warm up. So directly in front of me here is my office. So that's the Rayon Center. Essentially, think of like the state capitol. That's where I work. And then here you have the police department. And then this building over here, I'll give you a better shot of shortly. But that's essentially City Hall for the town of Głodin. The mayor's office is in there. Anything regarding IDs or land deeds or anything like that, you're going to get done there. I really luck out with Głodin. It's very centralized. You'll see in a second. Kind of similar to like a small town in America with Main Street. A lot of rayons that I've been to in Moldova are kind of spread out when it came to construction, but they actually seem like they kind of thought Głodin through when they did the layout. So I'm really fortunate. So what just drove by is a Routiera. That's essentially a minibus, and that's what you take all around the country, whether you're going to the next village or down to Chisinau. So I wanted to take this video because today is really gorgeous, and also they opened the outdoor bar and stuff at the grocery store. So kind of you guys are seeing the best Głodin has to offer. It's not very busy here today because it's 3:45 right now. Norok. Sorry, that was my kind of regular Routiera driver driving by. But after around 2, the piazza closes and downtown kind of dies out a little bit. But you can see here, there's some monuments. This one's for the veterans of the war in Afghanistan in the 80s, I believe. There's a couple more monuments over there, but I'm pretty sure that this one's for the war in Afghanistan. So this is the Primar, or the mayor's office in City Hall, like I said. Building to your right here is Lanella. which is kind of like a higher end grocery store. They're spread throughout Moldova. I'm really surprised Gloden has one. It only opened a few years ago, so I'm really lucky that it's here. Really, I can get almost everything there. We'll pop in and take a look. I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like and some of the prices. So this area just got reopened. It's only open in spring and fall. They have like beer and kegs, and it's really nice. Something to do in the afternoons or after work, which is nice. It's open till the evening hours. So yeah, we'll pop into Linella here and just kind of show you the grocery store and what it has to offer. They always have some interesting music blaring. Normally it's Taylor Swift, but yeah, so we'll take a look around here. Good selection of fruits and vegetables. We even have fresh fruit even during winter. We buy a lot of stuff imported from Turkey, so really lucky there. A lot of dairy options. Nothing's really pasteurized here, so if you buy something, it's really only good for about 3 days. So it's nice. It kind of makes you come to the market every few days or every day to kind of pick something up. Pretty good meat selection. We actually have like an olive bar and stuff, which is great. These are placentas, which are kind of more breakfasty, but they also have some dessert ones. Good meat selection, and fish as well. Most of the fish here are going to be lake fish, but they're quite popular. And we have a big frozen section. I don't have a microwave or oven, so nothing for me comes from here, unfortunately. Really good bread selection over here. And then, of course, they have the ridiculous beers. They have 2.5 liter beers. Basically, once you open it, you got to drink it. It's going to go bad. So you see a lot of those coming in and out of here for sure. And then upstairs, there's actually some shopping. We're going to skip that, but just a few shops. And then here is actually kind of a thrift store that you can see. We'll pop out here. I'll just kind of walk you down. We'll pop into the piazza, but it is going to be closed. But you can kind of see what it looks like, the space and stuff like that. So actually, I think we have time on the battery. I'm going to pop into Bistro, which is where I eat lunch every day primarily. Basically, I get like a thing of soup, grecko, which is kind of like a couscous or quinoa, and then I get kind of a salad depending on what they have, and all that's 20 lei or $1. So we'll just pop in. I'll let you take a look. It's probably gonna be pretty dead because it's late in the afternoon. So yeah, this is the cantina. It's pretty slow right now, but the food's good and it's fresh and really cheap. So scusate. All right. At the end, I just slid down the handicap rail there. Sorry. At the end of the road here, we have one of our hotels. We have 2 hotels in town. They have a restaurant. There's better options in town for sure. But it's good to maybe pop in there, grab a coffee or something like that. So we'll pop into the piazza. Like I said, it's closed. But actually, it's completely closed. Normally, there's a couple vendors open, but there isn't. So I'll just walk you down the street here. So we have a couple cell phone stores in town. 2 decent hardware stores. It was really convenient. Actually, I'm using my GoPro to film this, and popped in there and bought some old junction boxes actually for like wiring your house, and pried 2 of those apart and put bolts and wing nuts through to make the backpack strap for the GoPro. So instead of having to buy it and ship it from overseas from the States or the UK, I just made it here for about $2. So Darwin's kind of like a Radio Shack. So it's really convenient. Like, they do have everything that you could need technology-wise. I think that's a big misconception that maybe people are worried about when they're coming here, or when they're preparing, right? Like, they kind of stock up. I was guilty of that, of USB sticks or converters, stuff like that. But it's so readily accessible, and it's a tenth of the price from the States. Quality can be similar most of the time. Sometimes it's not as good. But what we'll do is we'll turn the camera off for a second, and I will turn it back on when I pop back to the other way to go back home. All right. All right, so we're back on, kind of walking the main street here. Same way that we came earlier when I was showing you kind of Darwin and stuff like that. Sorry if it's a little shaky. Like I said, I got the backstrap mount on, but I didn't want to walk around with a selfie stick. I get enough stairs as it is, being a redheaded, bearded guy here. So trying to minimize the amount of unwanted stares and questions. So I normally don't mind them, but I don't want to interrupt the video. But so you can kind of see the main square coming back up here, and then I'll walk you guys back through the main park area. You know, actually, we're right here, and you know everything's closed. We'll pop into the piazza just so you can see the layout. So this is all normally booming, 6 days a week, from the early morning hours till a little bit past lunch. Kind of depends on what's going on, but not sure if we can get in there. We'll try to take a peek. Bună ziua. Posibil film pentru familia din America despre piață? Posibil? 5 minute.
Тут у нас грязно сейчас, еще не убрались после рынка.
Ага.
Так что
Nu nimic, da. Mulțumesc. Possible mâine, da? So that was a first. Normally there's nobody there. It looks like maybe there's some construction. He was speaking a little bit more Russian than Romanian, so hard for me to be able to understand really anything he was saying. Another electronics store here. Like I said, there's a million of those around. Like I said, this is a smaller rayon. There's only about 10,000 people that live in downtown. And then, of course, we have Belts, which is really the capital of the north. It's about 150,000 people. Looks like we got a new refrigerator or ice cream machine being delivered. It's always exciting. And then the capital is Chisinau. It's around 600,000 people, so kind of like the size of Boston proper, but definitely doesn't feel that congested. In Chisinau, kind of, there's two main streets, that kind of T intersection at the top of one, and there's a lot of foot traffic in that region, but primarily it's all condensed in that. Once you kind of get off those two main drags, it definitely dies down a lot. Maybe I'll snag some footage of the piazza there. I mean, the piazza there is probably 4x4 city blocks. I mean, it's absolutely massive, and you get everything from chainsaws to live animals to cars, really anything that you can imagine they're going to sell there. We do have the store here called Casa Modern, which is, you know, modern house. It's all right. It's kind of overpriced, but they kind of sell stuff that you would need for your house, like plates and irons and stuff like that. But you can get better deals other places, especially if you go to Belts or Chisinau. Of course, being in the city, it's gonna have better selection and a lot cheaper. So we have another place that opens up in spring and summer right here. Just have like beer and tea and pretzels. Nothing too crazy, but it's really nice that there's those two options. You know, about half the year. It definitely opens up the town and makes it feel like there's a little bit more going on, because winter here can definitely get a little bit dismal. Similar to New England, you know, it's dark by around 4:30, and we didn't get a lot of snow this year, so that was actually pretty uplifting. But it definitely seemed like it was a long winter. But I was really surprised. It wasn't that cold, and it wasn't as much snow as I thought. Definitely significantly less snow than anywhere in the Northeast. Maybe somewhat on par with, you know, Pennsylvania or North Carolina. You know, you get the occasional dusting and stuff like that, but you're not getting the 9 to 12 inch storms repeatedly like you do in Massachusetts and upstate New York. So what I'll do is I'll walk you down this way. Like I said, we came in from over there, which is kind of like the shortcut back to my apartment. What we'll do is we'll walk this main drag here. And I'll show you the well that I get water from. Like I said earlier, I do have running water in my apartment, but come winter, if I'm not home for the entire weekend, say I'm down in Chisinau, and the office is closed, nobody's running the water, so the pipes freeze quite frequently. So unfortunately, sometimes I won't have water for a few days after that, or the other day, the pump went out, so didn't have water for the weekend. So it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely kind of a nuisance. So there's a pretty big divide where I live, language-wise. About 40% of the population are Russian-speaking only. So it's interesting. Sometimes they'll say hello in Romanian, and I'll get a hello back in Russian, or sometimes just a blank stare. Most of the Russian-speaking people here do speak a little bit of Romanian to get by, but definitely Russian is their native tongue. And we have a Russian school here that's really good. I actually think it has better facilities than the Romanian school. They get a lot of funding from universities and such in St. Petersburg and Moscow. So, but the students are great. They have a really good English program there. So I have an English club there as well. Bună ziua. So this is the well that I go to. It's actually really nice because it has a hand pump. So there's no bucket and chain and all that jazz. So filling up like a big 6-liter water bottle to bring home for laundry or to wash up with is a lot easier than filling up a bucket and then dumping that bucket into a little water bottle mouth. So up here on the right, you can see the Moldovan flag. That actually is the music school. So during the day, if I go home early from work to work from home or take a nap or whatever, normally all their windows are open and it's just blaring of children learning music, which, as we all probably know, can sound beautiful sometimes, but normally it sounds a little bit rough on the ears. But I've been tempted, maybe this winter, to talk with them about learning an instrument, maybe piano or something like that, because lessons are just so cheap in comparison to anything I'd be able to find back home that, gives me something to do in winter and could be a fun little life skill to learn. So what we're going to do is we're about to take a right back into the park, which is where I live, like I said, and but you'll get a really good view of the movie theater that they're rebuilding. And the concept behind that is it's going to be a movie theater. Movies are primarily going to be in Russian, I would assume, and then they're going to have some shopping and stuff like that. So over here, this green building, behind that, my partner lives in the apartment there. But that green building is like a little magazine, which is kind of like a convenience store. And the second floor is a restaurant. It's interesting. I got a pizza there the other day. I ordered pepperoni, and it came out with mayonnaise, hot dogs, and corn on it. So that was interesting. So this is the building here, the old movie theater. My partner's my age, so he's 28. He actually turns 29 this weekend, and he used to go to the movie theater when he was a kid, towards the tail end of the Soviet Union. He doesn't really remember that too much, but shortly after the Soviet Union fell, he would still go to the movies here, and it was 15 cents, which is pretty insane. I think the cheapest I remember movies being in America were about $3 when I was quite young. So yeah, 15 cents, which is pretty incredible. So we have another one of those outbuildings here from the old Aristocrat. That building is really dilapidated. We considered doing a big grant to turn that into a business incubator, which is a concept in Moldova and other parts of Eastern Europe, which is pretty cool. But unfortunately, it just would cost so much money. Of course, I can't get that type of funding from the Peace Corps. There are some EU grants and things like that, but they're just few and far between. Unfortunately, the business incubator model is just starting to fail. I think there's about 10 in Moldova, and a few of them are really good, but several of them have just not produced as anticipated, and the cost on the local economy is quite high to build the business incubator, but also to have the businesses operating there. So I don't know if that model is going to continue. There isn't one in Belts, which is the capital of the North, which is about 30 minutes away. So that was kind of going to be our business plan there was, hey, you know, there's a lot of industry in this region, but Belts doesn't even have an incubator. We could have one here. People could come here by car, or it's a 30-minute bus ride. But unfortunately, we just didn't get a lot of traction with that, so we decided to kind of do our resources elsewhere. But I'll just kind of do a little panoramic here. Got a beautiful view here. My apartment's there, and then you know, you got the park here. The park probably goes about a half mile in that direction, and it butts up to an old cemetery. And over there is actually a really nice hotel and restaurant, very traditional Moldovan, called Butiaș. It's really good. The food's great. It's a little bit pricey for the region. A nice dinner is about $4, but for the local economy, that's kind of high. Really surprised. You guys only are really seeing this dog. We have a few packs of wild dogs that live in the park, so you guys are my good luck charm. Normally they're running around, and especially in winter, they travel in larger packs looking for food and stuff like that. So during the daytime, it's not bad, but there's no lighting in this park at all. So if I'm walking home from the bus late at night or whatever, it's pitch dark in here, which never had any safety concerns or anything, but the dogs are really the only concern. I'm not nearly as worried about the people. So kind of coming back to the old casa, the old office / my apartment. And what's really cool is on the second floor of here, it's really cool in winter. During the summer, they work late, so sometimes I'm listening to bandsaws till midnight or 1 in the morning. But right up to there, a guy makes incredible handmade furniture and baskets and things like that. And he actually gets the wood from the National Forest here. And the stuff is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, it would cost hundreds, if not thousands, for some of the stuff he does back in the States, but you can get like a whole patio set for about 200 euros. You know, huge table, 6 chairs, just absolutely gorgeous woodwork. But unfortunately, there's just not a huge market for it. I think he sells a lot of stuff in Romania, but here locally, there's just not a big market. Well, we're back to the apartment. So we got a pretty good little half-hour video or so in there. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I'm going to do some editing and look forward to seeing you soon when I get home. All right. I love you. Bye-bye.